Oh my goodness, it has sure been a incredible last couple weeks. I mean, the Live Tour is had their first event in London, and I'm going to talk about that. So I had the honor, the pleasure to be able to be there for the first event. Look, um, say what you will about it, believe what you want, whatever, that's fine. I don't believe the argument of the money and all that and the Saudis, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't believe that's going to be an argument very long, to be honest with you. I'm not saying you shouldn't believe what you believe. Like, you do your thing. I just don't think that argument's going to last very long, okay? And that's just my own personal thought on it. And I'm not going to get political on this because that's not the point of why I went. I went because this is golf history. Regardless of all the other stuff, this was golf history being made. This has been something that Norman and different people, they've had this like in their sights for decades. And it finally happened in London, outside of London. I know people are getting mad that it was being called in London. It was just outside of London, but whatever. I've never been there. So to me, it's London. I stayed in London, so took a shuttle over there. And here's what happened. No, I was not paid to be there. A lot of people were asking me, oh, you got paid. I did not get paid to be there. They did invite me out. They flew me out, and then they paid for my hotel accommodation. So yes, they took care of that piece of it. And what it was, I was going to go anyways. Like, this kind of thing, it was so historic that the first time at this event, like, you just had to be there. So I'm just going to share with you what happened and what it was and why it was different, what the differences were between that and different PGA Tour events that I've been to. Okay, one is so on some of my videos that I did, like the inside the ropes or even the Pro-Am, they're wondering where the people were. All right, fans were not allowed in until the round one, Thursday. So that wasn't even an option, all right? It was the first time. Look, everybody's trying to figure out everything, logistics, resources, everything. Here's what I know. The merchandise that they had of like the different team and that kind of stuff, that sold out day one within the first few hours. It was gone. You couldn't get it on Friday and Saturday. Thursday only, and that was it. People just snatched up all that stuff. So that was that. The fan experience was very, very different than any other tour event I've been to in this regard, was the fact that everybody kind of came at once for the most part, a little bit before the 2:15 shotgun start. And then they went through the fan experience things. They got their food, their drinks, whatever, and then they each kind of went to the hole where they wanted to start or follow that pro at the beginning. So then the round happened, and fans, you'd follow your guy or your group for the whole time, or different people would bounce around to some of the different groups. On day one, I just followed Phil and DJ, and it was a crazy time. That first tee box where they started was crazy. I mean, it was packed. It was 10, 15 people deep. So it was kind of like a weekend where these guys were in contention, is what it felt like. And what was cool was when the round ended, everybody was done. It was done. And all the fans went to either the concert or back to the fan zone, and then the concert, or they left. So that was pretty cool in the sense that you knew what time you needed to be there, who you're going to follow, and how long you're going to be there. Like, you can really plan out your day. It wasn't one of these, I'm going to the tournament at 8 a.m. and I think I'll leave around 8 p.m. or 6 p.m. or we don't know p.m. Like, it's going to be a long day. That wasn't the case. So I think the fan experience was way better at LIV than the other PGA events I've been to, minus the Masters. That's in a class all by itself. So that will be number one in pretty much every category just so you know, coming out of the gate. Now, the shotgun start, like I said, I did like that. It was different. So each and every day, shotgun start, 2:15. On the final day, the leaders teed off on 1. There was like 1A, 1B groups, something like that. And so they finished up on 18. They are trying to get the winner to come up 18. So that was great. Here's what I know. The way the caddies were treated at LIV was, I mean, they went all out for these caddies. All out. They had great first-class accommodations. They were fed incredibly well. They had, so at tour events, there's people that get credentials, and they're called like player support. And they support the players. Whatever the player needs, if they need something, they talk to these player support reps, and those guys get it for them. Well, those guys also took care of the caddies. Like whatever the caddy needed, they got. And one of the things that I never even really thought about was on the PGA Tour, there's player dining and caddy dining, and they're separate. And the caddies cannot go into the player dining area, yet the player can go into the caddy dining area. Now, why is this an issue? Well, in this day and age, a lot of times your caddy is your best friend, your brother, your teammate. And in some cases, Lee Westwood, your caddy is your wife. And so you can't have lunch with your wife unless you go to the caddy dining area. Well, they don't have that on LIV. They dine together. There's player and caddy dining. Like the player and caddy get to go the same places. And that is great. They're not treated any less than the player. And the caddy was up there on stage with Charles Schwartzel receiving the trophy. It was a great, really honoring of the caddy. And they intentionally did this so that, think about it. If you're a caddy on the PGA Tour and you see your buddy caddying over on LIV and that guy all of a sudden made a ton of money, and you're like, and you're caddying for a guy that's kind of borderline, you just might be like, dude, can you please help me out? Like, I'm not making a lot right now, and it's kind of your fault because you're not playing that great. Maybe we can go do something different. And that was cool. One thing I was worried about was like the tournament intensity. Like, how was that? How were these players, you know, is it even a real event? If last place, you're getting 120 grand. Like, there's really no, like, shoot, I'm not going to make any money unless I step up my game here. There's none of that. It's like, if you're off, you're like, okay, my game is off. I'm just going to keep grinding, and at least we get something out of the week. Here, so I was worried about that. Well, I can say that watching Charles Schwartzel come home, he was feeling the heat, all right? He hadn't won in years, so he was feeling the pressure, and you could see him get tight coming in. Like, he's just trying to limp it in. And even taking like an iron off the par 5 18th. Just like, I don't want to do anything stupid. Put in the fairway. I'm laying up. I'm putting it on the green. I'm going to get my bogey and get out of here. Like, so he felt the pressure, which is what we want. Now, with more and more players coming over, just announced this week, we got, or Patrick Reed's in, Abraham Answer just committed, Brooks Koepka's in, Bryson DeChambeau's in. Now we're starting to see more and more players come over. So that means the intensity is going to be ramped up higher. Let's say, well, you got Brooks and Bryson. So now you got some rivalry happening. That's great for the game. And going into this next event in Portland, there's going to be a lot of eyeballs. The first event in the U.S., the first event going up against a PGA Tour event. That's going to be on home soil, USA soil. That's going to be interesting. So these next few events are in the U.S., and more players are going to start, I don't want to say defecting, immigrating over to LIV. Why? Because of the fact that, okay, the initial wave of players, they got the backlash, they got all the political pressures and all that kind of stuff. That's going to start kind of dissipating, and even the PGA Tour is starting to make some major changes, which is very reactionary. And I don't necessarily think they're doing it, but it's a little too late. And so there's a lot more players rumored to be coming over. So hang on to something, because a lot of other names are going to start rolling out to LIV. All in all, like, and even kind of just coming in, I've taken some time just to decompress, get off the bandwagon, and say, all right, what is this? And then watching the US Open this last week, I was kind of sad, to be honest with you. That's how I felt. Like, man, this is it. I was just sad, because I was like, I love a major championship. All right, that's great. That's not going to change. I love that. And then LIV, it was this, I just kind of felt bad. Like, man, this is bad in the sense that it's change, right? Change. If initially you change, like we moved cross country from California out to Georgia, right? And you're just excited. You got the adrenaline going, boom. And then you land in Georgia and you're excited for a little while. And then the honeymoon phase wears off and you're kind of sad, right? You miss, like I miss California a little bit, pieces of it. Just a couple pieces right now, I'll tell you. Anyways, but there's pieces I miss, right? That was my home. So there's a piece of my spirit that is grieving that loss. And that's how I felt a little bit about the PGA Tour. Like, there's pieces of it that I'm going to miss. I'm going to miss just that consistency, that routine I was in on the weekends, Sundays afternoon, watching PGA Tour events. Like, a piece of that is going to be gone. And I think after kind of that honeymoon phase of LIV has worn down a little bit, I just was a little sad. And I felt like I need to just kind of process this and be okay with the fact that, yes, the PGA Tour did great things. They did great things for many, many years. And unfortunately, they kind of didn't change with the times, and then they got stubborn and whatever. But something else came, and it has, and it will continue to shake up the game of golf. And it's exciting, but it's okay at the same time to miss and to grieve the pieces of it that we're losing. And that's kind of how I felt this last week of like, man, why am I sad? Oh, this is why, because there's some of it that I just am going to miss. All right, what about you? What are you going to miss? I know, like, maybe we could leave the political stuff out of LIV, because I just don't think that's going to be an argument to go on, right? If you don't like it because the players are no good, or the coverage is no good, or because it's a 54-hole match, that's fine. Like, but politically, I mean, we can go down all the rabbit trails, and I just don't think that's really going to be helpful for anybody, because it's not going to change. That tour is going to go on and on and on. So it's something that I'm like, all right, there's golf. I'm for golf, and I'm for people who golf, right? Politically, like, every government does pretty bad things. So I don't want somebody to judge me based on what, like, the United States government does. So I'm not going to judge people based on what their government does to them. So I think they can benefit, people and kids and youth, and a lot of people can benefit from this game of golf, which we all love. And so I'm for that. I want people to be exposed to it so that they can have a passion. And it just does a lot for people beyond just playing a game. There's a lot of relationship building and a lot of team building and all kinds of stuff you get from this great game. That's why I love it. So I think that's going to benefit a lot of kids around the world as this tour grows. So you can like it or dislike LIV for many, many reasons if you want. I just think that, argument is probably something that is kind of fruitless in the end. But what are your thoughts on this moving forward with the new players coming out, with the experience watching it? I was lucky enough to be there, and I hope to be at more of them, right? But what are your thoughts experiencing it from YouTube and the internet and how they displayed it to the world? That's what I want to know. I want to get your thoughts on all of that. And we'll go from there, and we'll see how this transpires and unfolds as we go. It's exciting. It's an exciting time, but there are pieces that are going to be, we're going to be sad about, and that's okay too. Thanks for listening. See you guys soon.